What is up, Sports Geeks? It's your host, Josh, here back with another College Hoops podcast, joined by Nick, the college basketball guru, with the beanie on today. Nick, pleasure having you on. It is a chilly, you're up in Cincinnati. It is a chilly Wednesday in Cincinnati, I'm sure. But we have a fun one today. We haven't done anything like this before. So we're going to take from Wednesday to Sunday here. So what is that? 5 days. And we're going to take every single ranked game. So that doesn't mean ranked and ranked. It means any ranked versus non-ranked as well. Any ranked team that has a game in the next 5 days, we're just going to go through and we're going to pick our winners, right? So I do want to be upfront about this. This is not a sports betting show at all. This is just college hoops talking, right? So we're not saying we think this team is going to win and cover. We're not saying anything about that. We're just saying here's what we think is going to happen as far as the result. So having prefaced it with that, go hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's easy. It helps the channel out. Lets us know you guys like this content here, because we are less than a month away from less than a month away from Selection Sunday, and it's getting down there. So we're gonna go ahead and hop right into this first game. So we're starting here on Wednesday night. Arkansas playing at Auburn. Obviously, guys, we have a ton of games to break down. So some of these games, I have a feeling like Arkansas at Auburn, we're not going to talk about too much. For me, it's Auburn easily.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. This Arkansas team doesn't have nearly the same firepower as this Auburn team. Auburn has proven they're the best team in the country by far. It's not even close with what they've done so far in SEC play. So, yeah, I got to give it to Auburn as well.
Yeah, I mean, right there with you. I'm going to jump to St. John's against DePaul. I do think this one's going to be an easy one, just because I don't think we need to talk about this too much. St. John's, yeah. I don't think DePaul can handle any bit of St. John's defensive pressure. So I think that one's going to be a pretty easy one there too. The fun one tonight, I think, is Alabama coming off of the loss against Auburn, playing at Missouri. This is not an easy game. Missouri plays some pretty good defense as a team. Now, I will say this though. Alabama is underdogs as far as Vegas is concerned. And I know I said this isn't a sports betting show. I'm just interested in what Vegas thinks, right? Vegas thinks that Missouri's the favorite here, which is just interesting. I'm curious to hear your take. Do you think Bama can come into Missouri and win this game and avoid the back-to-back losses here?
I personally think they can. I saw this line earlier today while I was at work, and it really surprised me. It's basically right now, it's probably going to get close to a pick'em, which it's not a betting show, but that's basically what it's going to be. I don't think Vegas really knows who's going to win this game. The ESPN matchup predictor literally has a 58% chance for Bama to win this game. I mean, you look at it, that was a hard-fought game on Saturday. I mean, if they play a lick of defense in the first 4 minutes and don't go down 9-0, could have been a whole different outcome. But, Bama really dug themselves in a hole. They didn't shoot the three ball very well. I think that's going to end up being the key. Can they rebound? Can they play a little bit of defense? Because they're giving up 79 points per game right now compared to Missouri's 69 points per game. I mean, they out-rebound Mizzou by 10. They get 3 more assists. They have 3 more blocks. Can they put a little bit of defensive pressure on Mizzou at home, keep the fans out of it, but still be able to shoot the deep ball, let's say 35% as a team? I think that they can get the job done. It'll be a close game. I think it'll probably be at least a 5-point game within that number. But I think the Crimson Tide can get the job done.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think about, like, if I asked you this question, who's the clear best team in the nation right now? What's your answer?
Auburn.
Okay, so Alabama just played Auburn to a 9-point game, while Alabama's biggest strength would be what?
Shooting the three.
And they were 20% from three, under 20% from three. So you just played the best team in the nation to a 9-point game while having I don't know if it's their worst shooting day of the year, but it's got to be damn close.
Cut it to 4 in that second half too. Like it was a game.
They tied it at one point in the second half there. So that to me, I think Alabama, I wouldn't even be surprised if they come in and beat Missouri by 15 tonight, just because I think their shooting woes, it's not like Alabama's not a good shooting team. They're a spectacular shooting team. I mean, think about what they did to Texas, right? I mean, when they couldn't miss. It's not going to be a Texas shooting performance tonight, I don't think, but Missouri is not near as difficult of an environment to play in as what they've played in the past. I know the game against Auburn was at home, but Missouri's difficult to play in, but not like what you have played in, right? So, no, it's like it's going on the road to Rupp Arena, which we're going to get into in just a second here. But I think Bama wins. I wouldn't be surprised if they even win by 10 or 15, just because I think that the lid was on the basket and you still put up 85 points against the best team in the nation. As soon as the lid's not on the basket and you're not playing Auburn, I understand Missouri is very, very good defensively too, but they're not Auburn. I think that I wouldn't be surprised if the Tide here come in and swing the tides in their direction for a little pun there. But we're both aligned there on Bama. We'll go ahead and move to Vanderbilt at Kentucky. This is obviously a game in which Vanderbilt beat Kentucky earlier in the season, I believe, and now they're playing at UK.
Yep.
Thoughts on this one?
I'm gonna stick with Kentucky, even
Mhm.
though they have three guards out.
Yep.
Three of, I would say, their best guards are out. I don't like this Vanderbilt team when they're playing away from Nashville and they're playing away from home. I don't like them. I think they're a really bad team on the road. I was looking at it; they're 2-5 on the road. Their big wins in conference are all coming at home, which include this Kentucky team earlier this year and Tennessee. But no, I'm not. I'm not really impressed by Vanderbilt. I think their remaining schedule is actually really tough. If they string together maybe 3 or 4 more losses in that span of the remaining schedule, they're probably going to be on the outside looking in. I think Kentucky has something to prove. I think Pope isn't feeling the pressure, but he's kind of starting to feel the heat on his back of, I mean, we got injuries right now, but yeah, we still have to win, I'd say 3 or 4 more games to make sure that we're, at least a half decent seed in the tournament and we don't have to worry about anything come selection Sunday. So, no, I think with Rupp Arena, I mean, it's a great environment. This Kentucky team's going to battle no matter what. I think they're 12 times better than this Vanderbilt team. You caught them on a hot day at home. I think Kentucky gets the job done.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the thing that kind of stands out to me, like you said, they've won one SEC game on this season on the road, and it was at
Yep.
LSU. Right,
Yep.
LSU is
Exactly.
probably the easiest place to play in the
Yeah.
SEC when it comes to environment. Right,
Yeah.
their basketball environment is not competitive with Rupp Arena, certainly. So I also think that there's a little bit of revenge aspect. Right, we talk about, like, I know in football I feel like it's a lot bigger of a thing, but like how difficult it is to beat a team twice in the same year.
Yeah.
It's very difficult in basketball as well. And I think that when you have a team like Kentucky, who is talented, who is a diehard basketball school
Oh,
that
yeah.
has not had the success as of late and is starting to feel a little bit of pressure, I think, as a university. You talk about Mark Pope. I think the university is starting to feel it a little bit, right? Like, hey, guys,
Yeah.
we're on a little bit of a skid, and I know we have injuries, but like, if we continue this skid, if we can't beat a team like Vanderbilt at home, this is going to start to get a little bit concerning. Because I mean,
Especially with the rest of the schedule.
right? That's what I was going to say. I
It's
mean,
not easy.
you have Bama, Auburn, and Missouri
Yeah.
left. So I mean, yeah, it's gonna be interesting, but I do think Kentucky gets it done. By the way, that Kentucky Auburn game, I will be at that game Saturday, March 1st. It's 1 p.m. on ABC. I just saw that tickets as of right now are going for $212 is the lowest
Yeah.
ticket. My brother-in-law is a graduate assistant there and got tickets months ago for us. So good call there. I'm rooting for Kentucky every game up until that to hope for the best matchup possible. But no, I do agree with you. Real quick, final point about that: Jackson Robinson, Lamont Butler, and obviously Kirk Creason not being available is painful. But
Yeah.
they've played several games in a row without them. It's not like it's going to be an adjustment. They've already made a little bit of an adjustment, right? Obviously, the Texas game, you beat Tennessee when you're really injured. That's a super impressive win. This environment's going to be rocking. I think they're going to be just fine tonight. Another team I think is going to be just fine going on to Thursday's slate. Only one ranked game here. Maryland playing at home against USC. This Maryland team is one of the hottest teams in college basketball right now. USC going on the road. I know they beat my Spartans, but I don't think that they're good enough to go into Maryland and take down the Terrapins. Your thoughts on that?
I would have to agree. I think USC is another of those teams. They get the best of a lot of these Big Ten teams that have to travel out west, and I think that's happened a lot recently, especially with USC. They take advantage of, those 2-game trips out there. Like they
Yep.
caught your Spartans. You're at the first game of a 2-game trip out there. You end up losing both. Not to bring that up, but you know what I mean.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of where I'm looking at it. I think Maryland will handle them fine. They got one of the best freshmen in all college basketball, in Derek Queen.
Mhm.
Whoever drafts him in the draft is going to get a steal because I know he's flying under the radar right now. Now this team will be completely fine. They'll be
Yep.
completely fine. They'll probably end up winning that by, I'd say, 8 to 10 points easily. It
Mhm.
probably won't be much of a game. USC will make a push here and there, but I don't see why Maryland doesn't win this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I think Maryland's dominance on the glass is one thing that's going to stand out to me. I think that's what USC did to Michigan State when they beat them, is they dominated the glass, even though USC typically doesn't.
Yeah,
right? I mean, they're long,
only
but they typically
31
don't.
rebounds a game.
Yeah, they're long, but they don't rebound that well typically. I mean, this Maryland team is an exceptional rebounding team, kind of similar to Illinois in that sense. So I'm right there with you, but we haven't picked an upset yet. We've picked the higher seed in every single game so far. We're heading over to Friday, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of some foreshadowing here. I'm picking some upsets here, and it's not just Michigan State's playing at Michigan. That's the first one we'll talk about here. Obviously, I'm rolling with the Spartans. I think we're playing hot enough right now. I think that Michigan's guards are turnover prone enough that what we just did to Braden Smith last night and we saw, I think we can also do at Michigan here on the road. Defending the bigs is going to be difficult, but I think that it's one that when Michigan State gets out and runs, that can be a little bit dangerous when you have 2 7-footers in the game.
Yeah, this game hurts me. If I couldn't pick it at all, I would take that route. I don't know. I'm just looking at it more deeper down the road because obviously you guys play them at home.
Yeah.
Later on in the year, and which it's looking like that's probably going to be for for the regular season title.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it, but I think Michigan's going to beat you guys on Friday.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
But I think that you're going to win the return game at home, and that's when you guys are going to win the regular season title. And I think that's going to make it even more special when you guys win that game. I don't know. I don't see you guys beating them twice.
Yeah, I'm very glad that we play them at home at the end, because I think the way that we're playing right now, the last 3 halves of basketball we've played are the exact 3 halves of basketball I would want to play going into this game.
Yes,
but
especially on the road.
Yes, I could very much undersee a clear path in which, I mean, this place is going to be rocking. Yeah. So I could see us losing that game. Let's head over to Marquette at Villanova though, because I think this is a game where, in my opinion, this Villanova team is they need something. This is a life or death situation, and I think this is one where you get a Villanova team. It's an interesting spot because you get a Villanova team that's quite literally fighting for their tournament hopes, right?
Yeah.
And then you have a Marquette team who isn't necessarily fighting for their tournament hopes. They don't necessarily have the Big East championship or regular season title that they're competing for, right? You're really not into it. You're what, 2.5, 3 games out of it. So I think that this Villanova team at home, this is going to be an electric environment on a Friday night. I think that Villanova gets the upset over Marquette. That's my first big upset that I'm going to pick here. I mean, obviously we're going to pick a couple, but that Marquette Nova game, I'm going to pick Villanova there. I think Eric Dixon and the boys there can get it done.
I will have to agree with you on that. This Villanova team is extremely up and down. Wooga Poplar's been playing fantastic as of late. Obviously, you're getting the usual production out of Eric Dixon. I think those two are definitely enough to win you a basketball game like this. The real question is are they going to have a third guy that is able to produce, get them 10-plus points, and get them a win like they should have won yesterday against UConn?
Yep.
They were up as much as 12 points with like 8 minutes to go in the second half yesterday and blew the lead and ended up losing by 7. It was crazy. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it. I really could not believe it. They had 3 guys scoring double figures. It was Dixon with 17, Wooga with 19, and then Jordan Longino had 13. Okay, so you did that, but guess what? You still only put up 59 points because your next highest scorer was Jameer Brickus with 3 points. So you had 3 guys in double digits, but guess what? You had absolutely zero production anywhere else. And I think that's been the little whole story with Villanova this year.
Yeah.
They have those 2-3 guys that put up the consistent 10-plus, 15-plus numbers, but then they get help nowhere else. And it's not like they're playing bad defense either because, I mean, they only gave up 66 points in UConn at UConn's building. So I think if they can somehow keep the defensive intensity ramped up, but they can figure out how to score more, get a little bit more efficient, get some more bench points, get some other guys, get into that 8-9 mark, I think we could see a massive upset and then another bad loss for Marquette.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I think that we could see is if you see this happen occasionally is when a home team is fighting for their tournament hopes and it's an electric environment, and they just can't miss.
Yep.
And this Villanova team, like a team like, not that St. John's would ever be fighting for their tournament hopes, but like a team like St. John's would not have a situation like that because they can't shoot the ball that well. Like even like a
Yeah.
team like Michigan State really can't shoot the ball like that, right? But a team
Hmm.
like Villanova can. You
Yeah.
look at your top 5 leading scorers, all of them shoot it at 35% or higher from 3,
Hmm.
right? With 3 of them being at, if you count 39.8, 40 plus, 3 of them are at 40 plus. So they can shoot the shit out of the ball. It's just whether you're on or not. But this is a game in which if you're going to pick a game to be on, this is it. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do get the upset there. But sounds like we're aligned there. We got to get moving here because this Saturday slate is absolutely enormous. Sunday we've got 3 games there with a couple good ones. But Saturday slate is enormous. So we're going to start with UGA at Auburn. In my opinion, we're going to keep this one really quick. And I'm also going to pair together Florida at LSU. I think both of these are wins for the ranked teams. I don't think this is a spot for an upset here.
Yep, I agree with that. I think both of these teams in Auburn and Florida are two of the hottest teams in basketball right now. They take these lower level SEC teams and they just punish them. They just
Yep.
absolutely punish them. So I think you're spot on with that.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing with Florida and and Auburn, they rebound the ball so well. It's definitely Florida. They rebound the ball so well. And so for me, it's hard to sit here and say that like you're going to lose a game against an under a significantly worse opponent because you just are going to have so many more opportunities. Not only are you a better team that's more efficient on the offensive end and more efficient on the defensive end, you are going to have probably 10 to 15 more opportunities than LSU, in which, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely I'm going to take you. So, all right. So we're aligned there. Duke, Illinois. This game is being played at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, we
This,
said that wrong earlier in the year and got absolutely roasted for it. My bad, guys. I'm not a Duke fan.
yes, and it does say it says Duke at Illinois, so we said Duke on
Yeah.
the road, and that we got grilled in the comments about 2 months ago for that. I do apologize. Was not 2 months in advance looking at Madison Square Garden schedule, but
I was not. Nope.
don't worry, 5 days or 4 days in advance we are looking at that. So Duke playing at Madison Square Garden here, obviously where the Knicks play. Cooper Flag going to be an NBA all-star at some point, but this Illinois team. I actually think it matches up really well against Duke. I don't think they should be underdogs by much more than maybe 2 possessions in this game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this Illinois team the past couple weeks, they've really struggled. They've hit a wall, but they've
I
also
think
been
that's been
dealing with injuries and they've also been dealing with sickness. I mean,
yes, yeah.
last night they didn't even shake hands after with Wisconsin, and everyone's like, well, why didn't they shake hands? They have like 3 guys with the flu. One of their guys had to travel by him like with the team manager like 2 days after everyone already got up to Wisconsin because he had the flu and didn't feel good, but then he decided he wanted to try to play.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at let's just go their last 5. They lost a bad one at Rutgers by 9. They beat Minnesota at Minnesota by 21. They beat UCLA by 5. They lost to your Spartans by 14, and then they get blown out by Wisconsin. I think they're starting to trend downwards. I really do. I think that this Duke team, especially when they're healthy, I mean, they did lose Malik Brown against Virginia on Monday. He separated his shoulder. They don't know how long he's going to be out. But I think that this Duke team is just way too athletic for this Illinois team. This is an Illinois team that's kind of having a mid to late season crisis right now. I mean, you look at them right now; they're 17-10. They're now not even a surefire tournament team if they keep downward spiraling like this, especially with, their remaining schedule. I think Duke probably wins this easily by, I'd say, at least 10.
Okay.
I don't think this Illinois team is ready to compete with a Duke team like this. But you never know when you're playing in Madison Square Garden. I could be completely wrong, but I'm going to go with Duke.
Okay, I'm gonna pick the upset here. I'm gonna go with the Fighting Illini, and this is for one key reason here, and it's because of the offensive glass. And the reason Duke lost the game at Clemson is because of offensive rebounds. They gave up 11 offensive rebounds in that game, right? They got out rebounded
Yep.
36-23 in that game. Terrible. And Illinois is one of the best rebounding teams in the nation. So I think that when you pair those two together, the fact that Duke's kind of the way to beat Duke is to beat them on the glass, and Illinois is a spectacular rebounding team. I think that's going to be the clear focus for this Fighting Illini team is get to the offensive glass. And I also think that they have bodies that they can throw at Cooper Flag. And they also have some star power in themselves in Kasparas Yakachonis, who's a stud. But I will say this. This is certainly an upset pick to pick Illinois over Duke, but there has to be a couple in here, right? And I don't know. I'm looking at the rest of the board. There's, I think, one or two that I think I can see looking at the rest of this that I'm going to pick, but I don't think there's a ton. So I think that this Illinois over Duke, this could maybe be a team, Illinois, like you said, trending downwards. Maybe they get to the point where they're not even a tournament team anymore. Duke, look, you're looking to win the ACC. You're going to be a 1 seed. Maybe this game just slips by you because you're not necessarily engulfed in the moment. You know what I mean? So those are my thoughts there. We've talked about that game plenty, so we will go ahead and move on. UK playing at Alabama. Obviously, we talked about UK playing Vandy tonight. What do you think this game does? Where do you think this game goes here on Saturday night?
I really, really, really like Bama in this spot. We already saw it earlier in the year when Bama. I mean, both teams were healthy. Besides, obviously, Kirk Kriisa wasn't playing for Kentucky, but we saw it earlier in the year. This Kentucky, and we still see it now with Kentucky. They don't play defense. This is a team that doesn't play defense. Bama doesn't play defense either. But if you're going to give me a healthy Bama team at home against a Kentucky team that's probably still going to have at least one of the two or two of the three of either Kirk Kriisa, Jackson Robinson, and Lamont Butler out, I'm going to take the Tide every time.
Yeah.
Especially if this Bama team can even remotely shoot in the 30% range. They could easily win this game by 10 plus points. This is a Kentucky team that we've talked about. They are so up and down. They don't play any defense. They rely on beating you strictly with their offense. And that's just a recipe for disaster against a team like Bama. So I'm going to ride with Bama in this one.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I think that this UK team, if they were completely healthy, this would be a heck of a game.
Yep.
But they're not. So I'm gonna ride with Bama there as well. The next two games here, we have Iowa State playing at Houston, Tennessee playing at Texas A&M. Holy smokes!
Yeah.
2 top 10 matchups here.
Yep.
Let's start with the Iowa State at Houston. For me, this Houston team plays such quality defense that in an environment like what they're going to have down there, I have a hard time believing that Iowa State's going to be able to go into Houston and win this game. I think that there's just enough. The atmosphere is going to be so tough to play in, not even mentioning the overall intensity that this Houston Cougars defense plays with. This Iowa State team is very, very solid, but I think not very, very solid. They're very, very good. They're spectacular. But I think this Houston team is just better, and they're at home, and they're in kind of a must-win game if you want to be a 1 seed and win the Big 12. I think this is a spot in which I would expect Houston to win by between probably 3 to 7.
Yeah, I agree. As much as they have been, a big conference opponent, I'm slowly starting to fall in love with the Houston Cougars and this program that Kelvin Sampson has built because, wow, they just slap the glove on you. They're only giving up 57 points per game right now. I mean, and they average 37 rebounds per game, and their starting center is maybe 6'9", maybe 6'10", and Jameer Francis. It's fantastic what they do. It really is. They're going to have College Game Day down there. Houston's going to be buzzing.
Francis is 6'8", by the way.
6'8". Okay, so yeah, their starting center is 6'8", and then they have Jawan Roberts. I believe he's right around the same. It's crazy. You wouldn't see that out of a team that's still going to get 37 boards when their starting guy is like the equivalent of like most mid majors at their center, but they still are able to battle with these teams that are bigger and beat them, and it's awesome. I love it. I love the brand of basketball they play. And then you look into Iowa State. All you have to do is really look back at what UC did to them this past Saturday, and they just simply pissed them off.
Mhm.
It was easy. All they did was they actually played really good defense. Surprisingly, they still give them 81, but they were in the guards' faces. They were pissing off Lipsy. They were pissing off Gilbert. Got Gilbert teed up. As long as they can frustrate and play the defense that Houston plays, I don't see why they couldn't beat this Iowa State team. This Iowa State team is very, very beatable. I mean, you look back. I mean, they lost back-to-back games, got blown out back-to-back games actually by Kansas State and by Kansas. I mean, this team, the Iowa State team, impressed me to a certain extent. Then when I watched my Bearcats play them, I wasn't nearly as impressed. But no, I agree with you. I think this Houston Cougars team is probably going to be either the third or fourth one seed come March Madness, and I don't see why they lose this game here. I think they win pretty easily.
Yeah, I think my thing about Houston is I look at like the hottest teams in basketball right now. And for anybody to tell me that there's a team hotter than this Houston Cougars team that's not Auburn
Yeah,
is very difficult because they since November 30th, so since December 1st, they've lost one game. That one
yeah,
game was at home against Texas Tech in a game which they easily should have won. They were up
yeah.
by what,
Oh yeah,
10-12 late in that
yeah,
game, and you
yeah.
lost.
Lost
So
by one in OT. Yep.
yeah. So that's a game that you lose that, right? And then you beat Oklahoma State, you go on the road, beat Colorado, you beat Baylor at home, you go on the road and beat Arizona, you go on the road and beat Arizona State. And so you clearly, to me, show this was not this was a mess up. This was
Yep.
an anomaly, right? That we are not a team that's going to lose to Texas Tech. We are a team that is going to beat everybody that you put in front of us. And I think that this Iowa State
Yeah.
team is great. It's just unfortunate timing. You are stepping in front of a rolling stone that is just going to run you right over.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that going back to that Texas Tech game real quick. I mean, Texas Tech shot 43% from the field, 40% from deep. I mean, 71% from the free throw line. It
Mm-hmm.
was just Texas Tech's night. It was just Texas Tech's night. I mean, there's nothing else really to say about it. And Houston still damn near got the win in OT. It literally came down to a Jawan Roberts missed layup. We're talking differently, and Houston wins the game. And
Yep.
Houston, like we said, they're would have been 19-0 in their last 19.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to think about. Like, no, I agree with you. They're definitely one of the hottest teams in college basketball, and I think they're just going to continue to keep getting better because you watch it last night. They beat an Arizona State team that wasn't good, but they're up by 20 like the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it didn't get close. They took their starters out, but the biggest thing I took away from that is the fact that Sharp is starting to play like himself from last year. I want
Yep.
to say I think he made 4 threes last night, and the game prior against Arizona, he didn't score. He looked horrible. He looked lost. Yes, he's coming off the ankle injury, so I think that might have been a little bit of his problem. He's still probably thinking about it, still lingering, but he got back to playing like he did last year, and it reminded me of when he was when they were playing A&M and they had that game that went into the overtimes, and he was just drilling threes. That's what it reminded
Mm-hmm.
me of. That's the way he looked, and if they can get him to playing at that consistent level, watch out because I think this is going to be a team that could easily make a push to the Final Four.
Yep. No, completely agree with you. But okay, so we talked about that game a lot. Let's talk about Tennessee, Texas A&M. For me, I'm going to make this nice, quick, and easy. This Texas A&M team plays very good defense, offensively. Outside of Wade Taylor, I'm not necessarily convinced by them at all. And I think that when you have somebody that's as good as Jemai Mashak, to put on Wade Taylor might just be taken out of the game because that's
Yeah,
how good of a defender Mashak is. In my opinion, probably the best defender in the nation. And you put somebody like Mashak on Wade Taylor and say somebody else is going to have to beat us. I think this Texas A&M team just doesn't have enough weapons offensively to beat you. So I think Tennessee goes on the road into College Station and beats Texas A&M. I would assume Texas A&M would be favored in that, but that's going to be one of my upset picks here too. I know it's the 6 over the 7, but I do think it'll be an upset.
I would have to agree. I'm not a big fan of this A&M team. I honestly think they shouldn't be a top 10 team. They're not consistent enough at all. I mean, you look back to what happened last night. Yes, I know they were on the road at Mississippi State, but a lot of these high ranked SEC teams are able to go into Mississippi State and battle
Mm-hmm.
and get wins. No, they just got flat out blown out. It was never close.
No.
I mean, once again, this is a team this Texas A&M team had to rely on their guards to score. Zurich Phelps had 13. Wade Taylor had 11, but he shot 3 of 8 from deep and 4 of 14 from the field. So he's taking it a million shots. He's not hitting at a good clip. And then you're looking at C.J. Wilcher off the bench had 11. Other than that, nobody had over 5 points for this team.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's a team that's really confusing. They never are consistently bringing it. And I think that's like the whole storyline of this game. Neither team consistently brings their best basketball. When you look at Tennessee, they do the same thing too. You'll go beat a Florida team by 20, and the next thing you know, you get absolutely blown out, or you struggle to beat a Vandy team at home and you were down 12 at half.
Yep.
But no, when I look at this game, I think Tennessee's the better team. It's really just going to come down to what Tennessee team's going to show up.
Yeah.
If the Tennessee team shows up that we know that was projected to be a 1 seed literally last week, this past Saturday, then yeah, I think they win. But if they don't show up, then at that point, who knows? I could see Wade Taylor or Zurich Phelps go off for 20, and we're talking next Monday or Tuesday, and A&M got a 3 or 4 point win.
Yep. Now, I agree with you. My final point here about A&M is that if I look at their schedule, to be a top 7 team with the wins that they have is difficult, right? Because I look at who they've beat. And as of late, Arkansas, Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, Oklahoma, right? You take Missouri out. Those are 4 of, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Georgia,
bottom,
Arkansas. That's the bottom of the SEC. And I know the bottom of the SEC is good, but those are games you need to be winning.
Yeah.
The win at Missouri by 3 is a good win. You lose at Texas, right? You lose against Kentucky. You lose against Alabama. You lose against Oregon earlier in the year. You beat Oklahoma earlier in the year. Oklahoma was ranked at that point, but that was right as conference play starting, right?
Yep.
Oklahoma hadn't started playing SEC teams yet. Yep. And so in my opinion, I just don't think that this A&M team has the resume of, they have not beat a single team this year outside of Purdue that I think can make the Final Four. And even Purdue, I think Purdue might be a stretch as to that they could make the Final Four, but we'll keep them in there. I don't think they beat a team, so that's where I don't necessarily love that. But either way, this A&M team is good, nevertheless. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to discredit this team and say they're not good. I just think that 7's a little high for them. I think in that 11 to 14 range is much more understandable for me. But having said that, let's go ahead and move on. So Texas Tech, Wisconsin, and Arizona. Those are 3 ranked teams playing unranked teams, and the ranked team is at home. I believe all 3 ranked teams there win. I think playing at home, if any of those games are on the road, I think it starts to get a little bit fuzzy, right? Now you could see, a West Virginia maybe getting upset. Maybe you see an Oregon, find Wisconsin on a bad shooting night, but I think all 3 of those teams win at home.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech and Arizona are definitely no doubters. I think Texas Tech's going to be hungry after taking a bad loss at TCU last night. Arizona is going to get to face a BYU team that just beat the doors off of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think those are 2 very, very easy games. The only one that kind of scares me is maybe Oregon with Wisconsin, because you never know what you're going to get with Oregon. They're one of those teams. They're actually a really athletic team, but they have struggled to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Wisconsin and John Tonje, who right now, if I had to end the season, would be in my top 5 for All-American. There's no doubt about it. He's been fantastic.
Yeah.
So, really him alone, if he plays anywhere he has been playing, I don't see why they don't win as well either.
Yeah, he's averaging just shy under 20 points a game and just shy under 50% from the floor. That alone is absurdly impressive. The Colorado State transfer, clearly a decent get for grade guard there.
Yeah.
Colorado State and then Missouri, right? Yeah.
He only played 8 games for Missouri though, so it kind of gets overlooked.
Yeah.
But I heard last night he was in the portal this past year. He was ranked 196 or something. Absolute steal in the portal by Greg Gard. Crazy get. People just completely forgot about him because he didn't play at all last year for a really bad Mizzou team.
Well, the funny thing too is that you let AJ Storr go in the portal, right?
Yeah, and then you get him instead.
And then you get John Tonje. I bet you're paying John Tonje probably about 5% of what you were paying of what AJ Storr is getting at Kansas, and Wisconsin's the better team. So AJ Storr, maybe you I mean, AJ Store did go. He went and cashed in on the bag, so it's hard to say you made the wrong decision there. But either way, so we will move into what we got here. We have was Mizzou going on the road to Arkansas. This is another one that I'm going to say the ranked team wins. Arkansas, look, I just think that they're the overall quality of the defense that they play and the overall quality of the players that they have and the team basketball that they play just is not good enough. I think this Missouri team plays defense hard enough that a team like Arkansas isn't dynamic enough offensively. I know you have a couple good players, right? General Davis, Adu Thiero, and Big Z's been shooting the ball well, but I just think that this Mizzou team is going to outmatch this Arkansas team.
I'd agree. Arkansas, it really hurt them when they lost Boogie Fland. If this team still had Boogie Fland, I think that you would legitimately be talking 8-9 seed. I really, really do. I mean, right now you have DJ Wagner running the point, and I think DJ Wagner's terrible. Watching him against A&M, he really doesn't bring anything. He doesn't know what he wants to do. He doesn't look like he knows how to even remotely run an offense. He just sits up top, dribbles it back and forth, looks for a pass that sometimes isn't there, or they'll give him a wide open shot, and then he won't even remotely look to take it. I remember watching him at Kentucky last year. He was not scared to shoot. I don't know who told him or what happened, but he now does not look to shoot from deep at all. He looks to either drive to the hole, and if that shot, the layup's not there, he looks to pass out. I don't think he's a very good point guard. If this team had Boogie Fland, I think it'd be a different story. I would probably be taking Arkansas in this point, but they don't. And especially if Mizzou's coming off a loss, hypothetically tonight against Bama, then yeah, I'm taking Mizzou for sure.
Yeah, no, I love that. So we have now. I'm just looking at this. Let's knock out two more that I think are easy. I think Kansas bounces back against Oklahoma State. Don't get me wrong, this Kansas team is playing very bad basketball right now, but I think this is a game that at home is a must bounce back spot. And when you have the talent level that Kansas has, you're going to be fine. I also think Louisville playing at home against FSU is a comfortable, I don't want to say easy win, but a comfortable win for Louisville. I could see them winning by 10 plus that game. Which leaves us with 3 games left here to break down on the Saturday slate. And I know this episode's been long, but there's a ton to break down.
Yeah, there's a lot of great games throughout the week.
Oh yeah, so Clemson SMU. This is one that, in my opinion, I think SMU wins this game, and that's another one of my upset picks here. I know that I had a couple in there, but I think SMU can win this game, and I think realistically, I look at what they can do, and they can shoot the brakes off the ball. SMU can. They shoot 38% on the season from 3. These guys can all shoot the ball. They kind of remind me of Wisconsin, how everybody can shoot the ball. It's not like, you only have to defend 3 or 4 guys that can really, really stroke it. No, every single guy that's on the floor can score the ball. You also have, 6 guys averaging double figures for SMU. So there's no one guy. And I look at like what Clemson did to Cooper Flag. Oh, no, that's great. You guys were able to really hone in and take away Cooper Flag for the first, 32 minutes of the game, right? The last 8 minutes he played well. With this SMU team, you can't do that. You can't just take away you can't just take away one guy, right? Like you can't just go and take away Boopy Miller, right? I understand he's your leading scorer. You can't just go take away him because guess what? If you put as much effort into taking him away as you did to Cooper Flag, you're going to go get torched from 3, right? From Harris, from Cross, from whoever it is. So I really like this SMU team in this situation. I also think this is a game in which they're going to be, really, really, this game in a ranked matchup is so crucial for a team like SMU to just build that resume. You have got to build the resume. And, I'm going to pull up their 0-4 in quad 1. Yeah. 0-4 in quad 1. Now, in Clemson's a quad 1 opportunity. This is if you're 0-4 in quad 1, that's not good. That is not good at all. So I know you're 19-6. It's unlikely you're going to miss the tournament, but I think this is a huge, huge, huge opportunity for them to get a quad 1 win.
Yeah, look at their schedule. They really only have one bad loss, and it was the 4th game of the year, and it was at Butler. Other than that, their losses are Mississippi State, Duke, at Carolina. At Carolina, that's tough to win. They lost against Louisville, and they lost to Wake Forest.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all those teams are tournament teams, besides Butler and Carolina.
Yep.
But no, they need a big time win to put a little juice into their resume because you look at it right now. Yes, they are 19-6, but they've been taking advantage of a really bad ACC uh, conference. Like they've just been taking advantage of it, and I think that's kind of been the big story with them. I don't know if they're projected to be in right now, but if they want to be even considered come Selection Sunday, I think you got to win. Again, you obviously they play tonight at Notre Dame. You got to win that. Then obviously you got to win on Saturday against Clemson. I think you got to go on the road and beat Stanford because that still holds a little bit of weight. I don't know if that'll be a quad one, but it'll definitely be a quad two. And then you got to win the rest of your remaining games because it's not a hard schedule for SMU at all. It really isn't. It's at Notre Dame, home for Clemson, at Cal, at Stanford, home for Syracuse, and at Florida State. You shouldn't lose. You should only lose maybe one more game the whole year, and that's if you slip up against Clemson or you slip up while you're out west on your little road trip.
Yeah.
But no, they should legitimately finish with 7 losses on the year. They're going to have to go into the ACC tournament, at least get 1 or 2 more quality wins for them to be on the right side of the bubble because, I mean, that's a big talking point. Like you said, they're 0-4 right now in quad one. They don't have any significant wins to hang their hat on. And at home in a rocking crowd, Clemson's a perfect way to get that ball rolling.
Yeah. Well, no, as of right now, Joe Lunardi has him as first 4 out, and then his next 4 out, he has Indiana, Xavier, Kansas State in there. All 3 of those teams have quad one wins.
Yep.
And so, I mean, multiple of them. So it's a little bit dangerous to say that you're going to enter into that bubble area with 0 quad one wins.
Yeah, never. We know what the committee does. You never want to be a team that enters that bubble with no quad one wins. Doesn't matter if you're power forward. Doesn't matter if you're a mid major. We've seen it happen to teams, like St. Mary's all the time, or a team, a team like a Wichita State from the MVC. You're getting killed because guess what? You don't have the quad one wins to do it. You might have the quad two wins. You might only have 1 loss in quad two, but you have no quad one wins, and they value a team that has, say 3 or 4 quad one wins over a team that has none.
Yep,
which
absolutely
is sad, but it's the truth.
Yep. So final 2 games here on Saturday. We'll make these quick. Mississippi State playing at Oklahoma. In all honesty, this is a tight game. I think Oklahoma's fighting for their tournament hopes there. Mississippi State has been unreal on the road as of late.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna lean Mississippi State, but I totally could see Oklahoma winning that game. Same thing with Mississippi against Vanderbilt. I'm gonna lean Vanderbilt, but I totally could see Mississippi winning this game. I think Vanderbilt at home is just good enough that it's going to be a hard place to play at. And like you said, you don't like them away from Nashville. I like them in Nashville. So similar to you, I don't like them away from Nashville, but when they're in Nashville, I do like them. So that's what I'm going to go with is Mississippi State and Vanderbilt there.
Yeah, I agree. I think Oklahoma's in a downward spiral. It's kind of turning into a dumpster fire. They were fantastic outside of conference play, 13-0. They get into a really tough conference. Don't get me wrong. The SEC is fantastic this year, but you can't be 3-10 in conference play and expect to make the tournament. You got to win some of these games, and they've had a lot of games where they've just gotten their asses kicked. Just straight up gotten their asses kicked. And I think this is a game where Mississippi State goes in. They continue what they've done on the road. They continue playing great basketball. They get a win, and this drops Oklahoma to 3-11, keeping them in the basement. And then I couldn't agree more with Vanderbilt. This Ole Miss team is weird. It's another team where they show like they deserve to be a top 15 team, but then they'll play a game like they did at home against Mississippi State, their rival, and they just get bullied. They just absolutely get bullied. They weren't doing anything right. They weren't rebounding. They weren't playing defense. They were letting Mississippi State get out and run, control the pace of the game. And I think Vanderbilt at home is going to need this to fight for their life because they are teetering right around that, not last 4 in, but, the next 4 in, stuff like that. And especially if they take a loss at Kentucky tonight, I think Vanderbilt's going to be juiced up to have another ranked team come into their place, and I think they'll get the W.
Yeah, no, I mean I agree with you. I think you look at right now their last 4 byes, and they're the final of the last 4 byes. So a loss against Kentucky tonight, like we were both saying,
I'll push them in the last 4.
Is going to move you into the last 4 in, right? I mean, it's not going to drop you a ton, but it's going to move you a little bit. And so I do think you're in the territory where to have an opportunity for a ranked team to play on your court is a massive opportunity. So we'll go ahead and move into Sunday here. Final data breakdown here. There's 3 games that we're going to talk about. First one, I'm going to keep this simple. FAU Memphis is the one I'm going to start with here. Obviously a rematch of the first round game, the 8-9 matchup 2 years ago, right? When FDU beats Purdue.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden FAU Memphis get to play. I mean, that game was actually before the FDU Purdue, but either way, FAU Memphis. This game ended in a Memphis buzzer beater. That game in March Madness. I think Memphis, coming off of this loss against Wichita State, this is a massive bounce back spot. They're obviously going to be plenty upset. It was a bad loss. They shouldn't have lost that game. Yeah. You did. You have to go beat FAU here, and I do think they take care of business pretty handedly. And I also think Purdue, you've lost 2 in a row now. To go into Bloomington, I think they might just
3 in a row.
3 in a row.
Yeah, I agree with you though.
I think they might beat the brakes off of Indiana. They're just so pissed off right now, and they need to bounce back so hard. This Indiana team, I think, it cannot defend Trey. I know they cannot defend Trey Kaufman-Renn.
Yeah.
And so I would expect a bounce back game from Braden Smith and this Purdue team and as a whole. So I think Purdue and Memphis, both ranked teams, win there.
I agree. I think Purdue will handle Indiana. I don't think there's much to worry about that. After taking another loss, 3 in a row last night at Michigan State, I don't see why they lose that. And then with Memphis can't afford to lose any more games. I'm going to be brutally honest with you. And it's not because they have a million losses. It's just quite literally the fact that their conference, that American conference, is so bad. It's not even funny. It's not even funny how bad that conference is that they can't legitimately get any more good wins. It's really sad. If you look at it, they're 5-2 in quad 1. They're 5-0 in quad 2. They're 7-3 in quad 3. That's how bad this conference is. That if they slip up, it's going to be a quad 3 loss. And that's the real sad reality of it, because you look at their remaining 5 games. Quad 3 at home against Florida Atlantic, who's 104. Quad 4 at home against Rice, who's 185. A quad 2 away at 119 UAB. A quad 3 away at 215 UTSA. And to close it all out, they got a quad 4 at home against 199 South Florida, who's knocking on the door of 200 in the net. They don't play anybody. This American Conference is embarrassing. Memphis should have gotten out of it when they had the chance, when the Pac-12 came knocking. I get it. You don't want to have to travel west for all your games. But at the same time, do you want to stay in this conference? Because if they lose to it, let's say they somehow slip up at UAB and they slip up at home against Florida Atlantic. That's 2 really bad losses. Really bad losses. That makes you 7-4 in quad 3 and 5-1 in quad 2.
Yeah, 4 losses in quad 3 is bad. Like if you were to run
bad.
That, yeah,
so bad. And that gives them. I'd give them 7 losses overall. I mean, that would drop their seed like most. I mean, you look at that. The committee would look at that. They'd see them as like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah.
It's just when you see their body of work in quads 1 and 2 being 10-2, and their only losses are a neutral to Auburn, and then a loss at home to Mississippi State, it really irks me, because that's just that Memphis. We've seen how they've played, especially at the beginning of the year. They are a much better team.
Yes.
Than a net 49 right now and 3 quad 3 losses.
Yeah. Nope, completely agreed. So, speaking of, you talked about them playing well earlier. The Maui tournament kind of is their saving grace right now, in which they started the tournament beating UConn. UConn is playing St. John's on Sunday, and it's at St. John's. For me, everybody, I mean, if you've been listening to these podcasts, you know how big of a fan I am of St. John's, and we are a fan of St. John's. UConn, when they played at home on a Friday night against St. John's, started that game up, I think, 26-11. They lost that game.
Was McNeely back for that?
McNeely, that was his first game back.
Okay.
And I remember texting you as they're down 15 and saying, dude, I think St. John's can win this game still.
Yeah.
And because they're getting wide open looks, they're just not hitting them. And sure enough, lo and behold, slowly but surely they start to creep their way back in. They're not hitting threes, but they're going to hit their mid rangers and they're going to force turnovers. Sure enough, St. John's comes back and wins that game. I think at home you have an opportunity to beat this UConn team. I think St. John's defense is so good. As long as Liam McNeely doesn't torch you for 30 like he's been doing as of late, I think St. John's wins this game. I do think St. John's defense is good enough that McNeely is not going to be able to do that. So I'm going to a boring 3 picks on Sunday. I'm going to pick the ranked team to win in all 3 matchups.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you look at the St. John's team. It's insane. It's insane how good they are. I think they're finally starting to actually buy in. I think in the beginning of the year and beginning of conference play, they weren't necessarily completely bought in. It was more or less if Rick Pitino just jumping down their throat, fucking chewing them out. But now I think they legitimately have bought in. They took that really tough loss at Nova off of the 3-pointer. I think this team is ready to go. I really do. I think UConn is a team that got lucky that Nova spiraled yesterday, or else they'd be looking at 17-9, and people would be like, "Well, are they even going to make the tournament?" Because it's still kind of a little bit of a talking point in the back of people's heads. Are they really still going to make this tournament or not? I think St. John's has no problem with them whatsoever. I think the UConn terror is over for this year at least. Maybe it'll be back next year, but all you really got to do is, limit solo ball and just completely shut down McNeely, and nobody else in this team can score for UConn. So there's really no worries other than that.
Yeah, I think Terrace Reed is going to have a difficult time inside against Ejiofor because he's just so physical and they swarm you. But no, I mean, I really like St. John's here too. But dude, this has been a nearly an hour long podcast.
It's been a fantastic episode.
This has been a fantastically long is probably what the listeners. If you're still listening an hour into this, you're a trooper. But I mean, we had a couple upset picks in there. There's so many good games on from when this is being recorded on Wednesday the 19th. From now until Sunday, there's so many good games. I mean, Michigan State, you have the Tennessee, Texas A&M, Houston, Iowa State, Duke, Illinois, so many good games that St. John's, UConn capping it off on Sunday will be awesome. So other than that, though, we are going to wrap this up here. This has been the Sports Geeks podcast. They play, we talk. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.